I have a nightmare neighbor. He continuously trespasses in my backyard and has one of the most dangerous dogs I've ever seen. It's already attempted to bite me and my kids. Well, you can say it came to a boiling point when this dog went after my horse. Yeah, I have a horse, and my horse did not feel very comfortable being attacked in the feet, so my horse kicked the dog in the head. Oh well. Well, there's something I need to add to this story because it is so crazy. You won't believe this nightmare neighbor. I'm 32 male and live in a peaceful suburban neighborhood where everyone usually respects each other's property boundaries. Everyone's pretty friendly with one another and we don't have very many issues. We have an active housing association in the neighborhood and they take care of complaints fairly quickly. So there isn't very much to complain about. However, my next door neighbor, Mike, has been a constant source of frustration for me. He seems to think that he can do whatever he wants and doesn't care about his actions and how they affect others. Mike has a total habit of trespassing on my property to take shortcuts. And he also allows his dogs to run free in my yard, which has caused some damage to the yard. The funny thing is, our houses are almost connected. There's no way that it's quicker for him to trample all over my wife's flowers to get home, rather than using the sidewalk like literally everybody else. The dog is terribly aggressive, and I suspect that it's bitten my children multiple times, though they refuse to blame him. Out of our love for animals, Mike keeps him on a chain outside most of the time. So anytime I want to sit down on my lawn for a beer, I have to deal with this snapping mutt, frothing at the mouth, and the chain sounds like a deterrent from coming onto my property. But Mike made sure that it was just long enough for the dog to do his business right on the edge of my grass, which, by the way, he also refuses to clean up. I can't count the times the kids have tracked dog messes into the house, sending my wife nearly into a coma. I also own a field to the back of the property that spans across my house, so a lot of people's lawns border it. It's a suburban neighborhood, but we have a lot of fields around, and I have a horse in the field, bought for my daughter's 8th birthday. Now, I take good care of that horse, and my daughter is great at being responsible for him. She mucks out the stable on the opposite side of the field, and she keeps the horse fed and warm in the winter. It should be a happy horse, but instead it's a skittery mess that tries to bite and kick anybody who goes near it. And why is that? Well, because of the rare times Mike lets his dog off as the chain, he provides zero supervision. The dog likes to chase the horse and bite its heels as often as it can, which stresses my daughter out to no end. The horse even kicked the dog multiple times, and Mike has the audacity to demand that I pay for vet bills, and even a head scan in case the thing is brain damaged. I've tried talking to him about it on multiple occasions, but he just always brushes me off, saying that since we're neighbors, we should be more relaxed about these sort of things. I mean, come on. I was friendly at first, believe me, I tried to be diplomatic. I asked him to clean up his dog's mess to keep it from lunging at my kids and to supervise it and make sure it did not go into my field. He just ignores me every time and calls me a tight butt and says I should loosen up some, have a beer. Now, I understand, well, that we live in a friendly neighborhood, but I think that everybody should respect each other's boundaries, and Mike's actions have been getting on my nerves for quite a while now. More than that, they're driving me insane. I've even gone so far as to put up a fence to try to prevent him and the demon dog from trespassing, but they still find a way to sneak through. The dog has burrowed under the fence and now has a perfect little tunnel for himself, and Mike hops the fence without care. I've even gotten warnings from the housing association because the fence is against regulations. They said if I did not take it down, I'd receive a fine. We only got away with it because my wife is close to the chairman and talked to her about it, explaining the exact situation. I've even considered putting an electric fence around the field to give the horse a bit of peace of mind, but I'm terrified my daughter will end up touching it by accident or something. She falls off the horse quite a bit, and she's really good at just about picking herself back up and getting right back to it. But I'm scared she'll get thrown off right into the electrical fence and hurt herself. Not to mention the fact Mike would demand me to pay for the vet bills if the dog even so much as stubs a toe. I don't want to cause any drama with Mike, but I'm at my wit's end. I feel like he's taking advantage of our neighborly relationship and not respecting my boundaries. Not even that, he's trampling all over them completely and putting my family in danger at the same time. He knows what kind of nasty diseases that dog is carrying in its mouth, and it could pass off to my children something. I've considered calling the police, but I don't want to escalate the situation unnecessarily. I don't want to waste their time either, calling them out of such a trivial thing as a neighborly dispute. The housing association has too much to deal with already, with the house down the street and, well, they painted the shutters green, so they're of no help right now. I'm not sure what to do at this point. I'm worried that if I don't take some sort of action, Mike will just continue to trample all over my property and ignore my proper request. I'm worried the dog is going to end up mauling one of my kids and tearing them up badly. I'm also worried the horse is going to take my daughter as a threat and kick her, and she'll hit her head or something. All these possibilities are running through my mind right now, and I'm honestly terrified. At the same time, I don't want to make an enemy out of a neighbor or create tension in our otherwise peaceful neighborhood. But I think that it might be too late to save this thing no matter what I try. So, I asked you guys, what do you suggest? Should I continue to try to talk to Mike and work things out peacefully, or should I take more drastic action to protect my family? Any advice would be greatly appreciated, as I am at a complete and utter loss. I'm grasping at straws, so please let me know what you think. What's up, everybody? Mr. Reddito here. So today's update is going to blow your socks off. I'm talking about update number 1, but first, could you guys even imagine living next to a neighbor who is such a complete nightmare? Go ahead and drop your nightmare neighbor stories in the comment section down below. Let's see what's happening in this update that is titled, I am absolutely livid. Oh yeah, and guys, if you do want to support the channel, all you have to do is subscribe. Only 17% of viewers are subscribed, so thank you so much if you hit that subscribe button. I really appreciate it. Here's your update. I'm absolutely livid right now. As you might remember from my previous post, my neighbor Mike's dog has been roaming my property and has bit my children. Albeit mildly multiple times, as I told you guys. I was worried that the dog was going to end up hurting one of my kids badly, and just like that, it happened. I was in the kitchen talking to my wife the other day, and we just suddenly heard our son start screaming. He's a dramatic kid and has had some trouble with other kids in the neighborhood recently, so it wasn't unusual. But this time, the screams were different. As a parent, you learn to pick up on the subtle differences in the way your kid screams or cries. And this one was just simply different. It was a deep, pain scream. Obviously, my wife and I ran out of the house immediately, and we saw our son laying on the ground while Mike's dog, still on its chain, was biting his arm repeatedly. I've grown up with dogs. I know when a dog is just being playful, and this dog was not. He was shaking my son around like he was a rabbit. I don't think that I've ever been more scared than I was right then and there. I thought my son was going to die. I ran over and drop-kicked the dog as hard as I could to make it let go of my son, and it ran away with its tail between its legs. Initially, we thought that the blood was just making the cut look worse than it was, and we did not think the bite was that serious. But once we washed off the blood, we saw that my son definitely needed some stitches. So, We drove him to the local hospital and he ended up getting 8 stitches on his left arm. The injuries from the dog bites were far more serious than we initially thought. The way the dog was shaking my son ended up breaking his arm in 2 places, and despite repeated attempts to get Mike to take responsibility, he refused to do anything about it. The injury wasn't just a little playful dog bite. The bite was deep, and my child had to receive multiple stitches. I mean, come on. It left a nasty scar. It was heartbreaking to see my child in so much pain, and to have to explain to the doctors why the neighbor's dog was allowed to hurt them. He was in a sling for a month, and we ended up having to shell out thousands for the medical bills, which, by the way, Mike refused to contribute to. I was livid, of course. This guy demanded I pay for his dog's medical bills when our horse rightfully kicked it, but my son was in the ER for 6 hours and he didn't care one bit. He hasn't even done anything with the dog. It's still right there, just crapping on my lawn, lunging at me every time I leave my front door. So, I decided to take the next logical step and went to the police to file a report. I wasn't about to let this guy keep his dog, not after what it did to my son. Oh no, I want that animal put down. My kids, who would usually be furious at me for even saying something like that, even ended up agreeing that yes, this dog is dangerous and it's the best thing. They're all scared for their lives whenever they try to venture out the front or back door for school. My son is simply traumatized. He won't leave the house without his mother or me beside him. But here's where things get even more infuriating. The police did not take me seriously at all. They kept insulting, saying that it was just a dog bite. I shouldn't make a big deal out of it. I tried to explain. My child required 8 stitches, and that Mike was at fault, and they simply dismissed me and said they would look into it. Well, after I refiled the report, this was 3 weeks ago. I haven't heard a word. After my visit to the police station, I was already feeling incredibly frustrated and angry. I cannot believe that they've dismissed my report so easily, and it felt like they were belittling the severity of my child's injury. But then, I learned about Mike's connections with the police department. It was a punch to the gut. You aren't going to believe this. It gets insane. Mike's wife's brother is the chief of police. That's right. This guy's related to the head honcho of the town. They're squashing this case out of loyalty. I feel like my head is going to explode. No one is listening to me, and I just need to find a way to protect my children before something worse happens. You should have seen the way the doctor treated my wife and me when we brought our son in. You could tell they thought we were neglectful, awful parents who could not even protect our children from a dog. Well, I guess they're right. It's our job to protect these kids, and we failed so badly that our son is sobbing every time he needs to go out of our front door and walk past the animal. It felt like the police weren't taking my report seriously, because they did not want to upset Mike or his little connections. It was like they cared about protecting their relationship with him than to do anything about their job in serving justice. The more I think about it, the angrier I become. My child has been hurt because of this guy's willful negligence and refusal to take responsibility, and now it seems like no one is willing to hold him accountable. It feels like my concerns are being swept under the rug, and now I'm left feeling helpless and frustrated. I know that I need to find a way to just get justice for my child, but it seems like every avenue is blocked. The police, they don't take my report seriously at all. And now it seems like they're actively protecting Mike from any consequences. It's an incredibly frustrating and disheartening situation. I feel helpless, frustrated by the police in this town. They should be investigating the incident and holding Mike responsible for it. I mean, we're talking about a child's injuries here. I don't know where to turn next. I just want justice for my child and for Mike to be held responsible for his actions. Honestly, I'm not proud of this, but I've been considering alternate forms of justice. As in, I've been thinking about taking this matter into my own hands. Now believe me, I am not some kind of vigilante trying to solve the world's problems, but I am a father. And it's my job to protect my family, and if the police won't intervene, then I'm going to have to be the one to do something about this situation once and for all. I mean, come on, I don't want to do anything illegal. That's not who I am. But at this point, I just don't see another option. Well, I guess I'll wait on a couple comments because advice would be appreciated. A lot of people suggested that I go to the police when I uploaded my initial post. And look how that went. So, I want serious responses here. I need to get this guy out of my neighborhood, and the sooner the better. Update number 2. Hey guys, I just want to preface this update by saying that I know what I'm about to do might not be the best course of action. I know. But I feel like I've exhausted every other avenue. I can't just let Mike get away with what he's done. And the police, well, they're not taking me seriously. I don't want anyone to take what I'm saying as an instructional manual to copy. I know that I'm not going the morally correct route here. I'm just past the point of caring, you know? So, I've come up with a plan. You see, Mike is superstitious. He's always been the type to believe in ghosts and the supernatural. When he first moved in beside me before all the problems started, we were pretty friendly with each other. We'd sit on my lawn, drink beers together, and this was before he took in that dog. He told me about how his childhood home was haunted, that he would hear ghosts when he was trying to sleep, and that stuff would move on its own. It was all crazy. He talked about cold spots and his mother telling him about the previous inhabitants who died in the living room. I don't believe in this kind of things personally, but I listened politely. I wasn't about to be rude, it just sounded to me like his mother was mentally ill and it scarred him in the adulthood. That's where I got the bright idea. I decided that I'm going to trick him into thinking that my house is haunted. I know, it sounds crazy, but just listen. I'm going to pretend to forgive him for what happened with my child. And I will invite him over for a drink or two. He's stupid. He's never going to realize that I'm faking it. I'm pretty good at hiding my emotions. I can pretend that I don't want to punch the guy in the face. I'll make sure that he has a few too many, and then I'll start dropping hints that strange things have been happening in the home. It sounds insane. I know, believe me, I know. I feel like an idiot for even coming up with this idea, and my wife seems to think that I've lost my serious mind. But I don't care. I know this might sound like a drastic measure, but I feel like I need to do something just to get information on Mike. Maybe in his drunken state he'll let something slip about his connection with the police. Maybe I'll find some evidence that can't help me in my fight against him. I don't know what I'm hoping for, to be honest. I just feel like I have to do something. Even if it's something stupid like this. I'm not going to sit here and let him continue to put my family in danger. Wow, I'm not proud of what I'm about to do. Mike needs to be held accountable. And if this is what it takes, so be it. I just hope that I don't regret this decision sooner. Update number 3. Well, hello everybody. As you people know, I was at my wit's end with the whole Mike situation. Despite my repeated attempts to hold him accountable for his dog's actions, he just continuously refused to take responsibility. I was angry and frustrated that the authorities had not taken my report seriously, and I felt like I had nowhere else to turn. I told you guys about my dumb little plan to pretend my house was haunted to freak him out, and while a lot of you guys told me it was so stupid in the comment section, I went ahead and did it. I pretended to forgive Mike and I invited him for a beer or two. We chit-chatted about random things, but I could see that he was still uncomfortable. I didn't blame him. After all, he had hurt my child. He flinched every time I moved. He was sure I was going to hit him, which I don't blame him for either. I really wanted to. But I stayed friends and relaxed, and my wife and kids were at my mother-in-law's house, so it was just us boys. As the night went on, I started to drop hints about strange things happening in my house. I made up stories about hearing footsteps when nobody was around, and how I feel like I was being watched all the time. I even stole some of his childhood stories and told him that I was feeling cold spots, and that my wife had been complaining about it. Mike starts to get visibly nervous and kept looking over his shoulder. At this point, he was completely drunk, so it wasn't hard to tell him more ghost stories. He was getting shifty in his chair, and that's when I decided to take it up a notch. I started moving things around in the house when Mike wasn't looking, and I even rigged up some basic pranks with fishing lines to make it seem like objects were moving on their own. Mike was convinced that my house was haunted and was visibly shaken. It wasn't the most developing thing. I just tugged some lines and made some books fall off a shelf. I downloaded an app that controlled the TV and made it turn on and off. It took a lot out of me not to laugh when he starts getting all freaked out, slurring his words and swaying in his chair like a fool. But my plan was not just to scare Mike. I wanted to get some information out of him, you see. So I kept probing about his connections in the police department and whether he would have any pull with them. As he got even more drunk, Mike starts to let his guard down. He revealed that he did indeed have connections in the police department and that he had used them to get out of trouble before, and he'll do it again. I pretended to be grateful for his help and promised to keep his little secret safe. What I've discovered is this. The reason Mike moved to this neighborhood in the first place was that his dog bit a kid in the last area he lived. He didn't have any pull there, so the dog was going to be put down. And to save the little hellhound, he deliberately moved to a neighborhood in his brother-in-law's jurisdiction, so that if it happened again, there would be no repercussions. Eventually, I helped him back to his own house, and his wife was furious that he's gotten so drunk. She apologized to me for having to carry him over, but what made me even more mad, well, she was just willing to apologize for a messy, drunken incident, but not for the permanent scar on my son's arm. I don't know what I'm going to do with this information, but I will do something. Thank you for all the support. I will let you guys know how things go later. Update number 4. Hey guys, I have an update on my situation with Mike. As you may recall, I recently used his superstition against him and convinced him that my house was haunted. While he was completely spooked, I also managed to get some valuable information out of him about his connections with the police department when he was drunk off his butt. Initially, I was planning on using that information to take legal action against him and make him pay for what he's done to my child. But after careful consideration, I realized that going to the police may not be the best course of action. Firstly, as I mentioned before, Mike has connections within the police department, right? Which means that any legal action I take against him may not have the desired outcome. It's possible that he could use said connection to get himself out of the trouble. Or at least lessen the punishment if he does receive something. I don't know who you're supposed to go to when the cops fail, but whoever is the step above them, it's far out of my pay grade. I could not get the number even if I tried. Secondly, even if I did manage to get justice for my child, it would likely be a long, exhausting legal battle. The stress and time commitment involved could take a toll on me and my family, and it may not be worth it in the end at all. I don't want my kids to have to go into a police interview room and be bullied by Mike's friends into pretending nothing ever happened. I'm not going to put my family through that. I know I already said that I was done with the legal route, but I really was hoping that Mike would spill some magical solution when he was drunk that would make the cops have to listen. But that's just not what happened. And I have to accept that. So I'm resigned to the fact that he decided to take a different approach. I'm going to continue to use Mike's superstition against him and make him feel as uncomfortable as possible in his own home. It's not the exact revenge I wanted, but it's a small way to make him feel the same fear and discomfort that my family has felt since his dog attacked my child. Maybe he'll get so spooked that he'll flee the neighborhood with his tail tucked between his legs or something. I've been doing a lot of research online. Obviously, there isn't a lot of information online about how to trick your neighbor into thinking their house is haunted, but I have found a few ideas. See, those fake ghost hunting shows have been pretty useful. Sometimes the crew forgets to stand out of the camera's view so I can see what they're using to make the place look so spooky. I've been working on some ideas for pranks and scares that I can pull off in Mike's house. I plan on doing it when he's not around so he won't know it's me. Obviously, I don't want to end up arrested for harassment or something. I'm hoping that this will make him feel like he's being haunted by a vengeful ghost or something, house to house. And it'll make him so uncomfortable that hopefully he's just going to want to move out of the neighborhood on his own. I know this isn't the most mature, responsible approach, but I'm at my wit's end with this situation. I really am. I just want Mike to feel the same fear and anxiety that we feel, and maybe this will make him realize the gravity of what he's done. I don't even know if it's going to work. My wife once again says I'm insane, but hey, the first time it worked. I'll keep you all updated on how things go. Thanks for the support and advice so far, if anybody has experience with this kind of thing, which I doubt. But if you do, please let me know and tell me how things went. I am desperate. Update number 5. It's been a few months now, and this is the final update. Hey guys. So, it's been a few months, but I just wanted to fill you all in on what's been going on with my ongoing feud with Mike. First things first, I need to let you all know he's moving out. He's actually leaving and taking that devil demon dog with him. I'm ecstatic. I can't believe I've actually won, so how did I do it? As you may recall, I came up with a plan to use Mike's superstition against him by convincing him that his own house was haunted. My initial attempts to scare him during his visit to my house were successful, but I wanted to take it up a notch and really drive him insane. Convince him that the ghost had moved to his own house. So, over the course of the next few weeks, I began playing a series of pranks on Mike that would make him think that his house was haunted. One night, I went to his house and scratched his bedroom window, made these eerie noises with my phone, and just woke him up in the middle of the night. The scratch marks looked like they were made by claws, and Mike was absolutely terrified. I used his own rake to do it, which gave me even more satisfaction. I'm a handy guy, and when I was pretending to be friendly with Mike, I even offered to fix up some stuff within his home. He's not one to turn down free labor, so he agreed, and when he wasn't home, I rigged up some noise machines that would make creepy sounds like creaking floorboards, howling wind. I strategically placed them in different parts of the house so it sounded like the noises were moving about. Mike could not figure out where the sounds were coming from and became convinced that there was something living in the walls. I threw stones through his windows in the middle of the night, making him think that something was trying to break in. Looking back, I think that this one might have been taking things a bit too far, but I don't feel guilty. All of these pranks were designed to make Mike question his own sanity and believe that he was being haunted by a malevolent spirit. And it worked. It actually worked. Mike ran to me in a panic and begged for help. He was convinced that he was living with a house of curse and that he was in urgent danger. At first, I acted sympathetic, offered him support, But I could not resist taking it a step further. I told him that I'd experienced similar things in my own house, and that I had found a way to get rid of the ghost. I made him think that I performed a ritual to banish the ghost from my home, and hinted that it might even work, and moved on to his house instead. So, when he came to me for help, I told him that he needs to perform the same ritual to banish the spirit away, and I gave him a list of strange ingredients that he would need to collect. Of course, the ingredients were all fake. The ritual was just something I made up on the spot. But Mike was so desperate to get rid of it from his house. Well, he believed every single word that I said. He spent hours scouring the city for fake ingredients, and when he could not find them all, he came back to me begging for more help. So I just fed him even more lies, telling him that the ghost was getting stronger and that he needs to act fast to banish it. Mike was losing his mind, I'm telling you, and I was reveling in my victory. It worked. He's moving. Over the past few months, he's been looking awful, losing weight, looked like he's not sleeping, and I guess things finally got to him. He told me yesterday that he's selling the house, taking his family, and getting the heck out of here. Do you know the funniest thing? He asked me if I wanted to buy the house from him. I'm not dumb. I know that he just wanted to get rid of the place quickly and wants the fake ghost to latch onto me. But this was a crazy opportunity, and obviously I accepted. I got the best deal of my life. I paid less than half of the home's value, and now I'm planning to connect the two houses with construction. My son is still traumatized, and to be honest, I think this revenge thing has shown my wife a side of me that she simply does not like. I don't care. I've gotten the taste of victory. Once he's gone, I'll be able to work on repairing my family. Thanks to everybody who stuck with me through this. You guys are devious, and I could not have done it without you guys. But yeah, if you got a neighbor like Mike, he sucks. So guys, the comment section of the original post, they were all saying how I don't think this story can possibly be real. What kind of person actually believes that you can set up an entire scenario where somebody's house is haunted and trick them into actually moving? Well, I read a kind of comment that will blow your mind. It was this exact same scenario, and somebody literally said, hey, my neighbor was going through this same thing, and guess what they were afraid of the most? Ghost. Well, this exact situation played out, and the OP of that comment, the neighbor was gone within 2 months because they were scared that they had a ghost in their house too. So guys, if you've ever had a nightmare neighbor, I want to hear your story about it. Drop it down below. Did you get rid of them, or did you have to leave yourself just to get away? I would love to hear from you guys. My name's Mr. Reddito. I post a story every single day. So make sure you stop on by, see what the topic is, and I try to find every single possible update. So, if you want more daily videos, smash that subscribe button, and I will see you guys in the next one. Have a fantastic day.